every time we come here with you?
Mm-hmm.
Can we watch one?
Can we watch one? Well, we would take the 30 minutes watching the other 30 minutes. So we got to work on this so we get time to. So today we're going to be reading a little book called Henry and Mudge in Puddle Trouble, and it's by Cynthia Rylant. Okay? So this book is split into 3 different stories, okay? And the first story you're going to read out loud to me. And then the other 2 you're going to read like how we have been reading, where you just read it to yourself. But as we read, we're going to try and remember, we're going to work on something called a 5-finger retell. So when we do this, we look at our hand, and our thumb is the characters, our pointer finger is the setting, our middle finger is the problem, our ring finger is the events that happen, and then our pinky is the solution. So for each of these 3 stories, we're going to stop, and we're going to do a 5-finger retell of them. And then at the end, we're going to pick our favorite story, and we're going to write it down on this. Does that work? Okay. So we can get started. So looking at this cover, what do you think is going to happen? Looking at the title and the cover, Puddle Trouble, what do you think that could be? What do you think when you think of trouble? Is that a good thing, to be in trouble? Mm-mm. And so they're in puddle trouble, and it looks like they're swimming. Do you think they're going to be splashing around in a big puddle? I think so too. Okay, so we're going to flip to page 1. And this one you're going to be reading out loud. And I'll tell you when you can read that to yourself. Okay, so this first story is what it's called? Glory, yeah. And so glory means like praising something.
When the snow fell and spring came, Harry and his big dog, Mudge, stayed outside all the time. Harry had a man riding like little Henders, chewing on sticks, very glad and one day when Harry and Mudge were in the boat, Harry saw something blue on the ground. He got closer to it. Mudge, he called. It's a flower. Mudge slowly walked over and sniffed the blue flower. Then he sneezed all over Henry. Ew, Mudge, Henry said. Later, Henry's mother told him that the flower was called a snow glory. Can I pick it? Henry asked. Oh no, said his mother. Let it grow. So Henry didn't pick it up. Every day, the snow glory and the glory of the bird, and looking so pretty, he knew he shouldn't pick it. He was trying not to pick it, but he thought how nice it would look in a jar. He thought how nice to bring it inside. He thought how nice it would be to own a snow glory one day. He stopped with Mudge and looked at the flower.
Mudge.
Would stick his nose in the grass all around the snow glory, but he never looked up the way Henry did.
We're on page 12.
Mudge stays confused after growing all around his snow globe, but he never lived the way Henry did. Don't you think the snow globe has been growing long enough? Henry asked his mother, let it grow. Henry, she would say.
Okay, just read this page and then you can read to yourself.
Oh, Henry, that snow globe, and one day, he just knew he had to have it. So he took Mudge by the collar and he stood beside the snow globe.
Okay, you can read silently to yourself now.
To help us understand the story. So
You can join.
yeah, you have been before. I know you have. Just tell us about the character traits, right? Because you guys had your own character traits, right? So do you see these papers? We have Abraham Lincoln, and then we have 3 boxes. And God wrote today. We're gonna read a total of 8 pages. I want you to stop and write down some character traits that you think in each square. Okay? We're gonna do one. Sorry, it needs to circle. We're gonna do one together. That way you know what I'm looking for first. But when you're reading, I just want you to kind of write one down and go ahead and write down the page number too that you find it on. Okay? I'm gonna give you these books.
Did you bring, what's it called? The paper of the wishes and
You're in the right section.
Did you have fun with that one? I know you liked that
I
one.
know.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and flip to page 3 and we'll open this one. Page 3. Right there. You see it? This is the first book of the book that actually has page numbers. Yep. We're going to start on page 3 and I'm going to read it to you. You're going to go ahead and read it again when I'm finished. What? Yep. It's okay. We'll just sit in this one. Read this to you. You're going to read the first page. It's Abraham Lincoln, okay? So go ahead and follow along.
Almost everyone loves a good game.
11.
However,
So I get 1 point. Conduct.
not just athletic ability, skill helps support women. Many other things can contribute.
Okay, so you're done with the first story in this book. Put my finger in it. Okay, so we're gonna do a 5-finger retell for this, okay? So can you tell me what the characters were in that story? Henry, mm-hmm. Do you know some other ones?
His mother.
Mm-hmm. And
Not
Mudge, the dog? Mm-hmm. So those are the 3 characters. So the setting can be kind of tricky because it wasn't like, it didn't tell us exactly where the story took place. But you can you describe to me what?
His house.
Yeah, he was in his house and then he was outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in his yard with the snow glory. So yep, that's our setting. And then what was the problem?
So I'm going to have and we're going to be looking at
His dog ate the flower.
Mm-hmm. So after his dog ate the flower, what happened? Yeah, he got mad. He said, I need it, not eat it, shouted Henry. Okay, so those were the events. So he got mad. And then, what happened? Here, right here, it tells us.
sports technology can
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So his solution was he calmed down and he forgave Mudge and realized it wasn't his. He just wants him to try to listen better. So that's a good one. Okay, so I'm going to read the next one. and then the last one you're gonna read. Okay? Does that sound good? So follow along while I read. Okay? In April, it rained day after day after day after day. Henry was getting bored. Mudge was chewing up everything in the house. So Henry said, let's play outside anyway. He put on his raincoat and sneakers and went outside with Mudge. Henry forgot to ask his father if it was all right. When Mudge stepped into the wet grass, he lifted his paws and shook them. Too bad you don't have sneakers, Henry said, and he walked in a circle around Mudge. Squish, 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 squish. Mudge listened and looked at Henry. Then he got closer to Henry and wagged his tail and shook the water from his big, wet, furry body all over Henry. Henry wiped the water from his face. "Aw, Mudge," he said. The two of them went walking, and down the road they found a big puddle, a giant puddle, a lake puddle, an ocean puddle, and Henry said, "Wow." He started running. Mudge got there first. Splash! Muddy water all over Mudge. Splash! Muddy water all over Henry. It was the biggest, deepest puddle they had ever seen, and they loved it. When Henry's father called for Henry and didn't find him, he went outside. He looked down the road. Splash, he heard. He put on his raincoat and went walking. Splash! He saw. Henry's father saw Mudge with a muddy face and muddy tail and muddy in between. Henry's father saw Henry with a muddy face and muddy sneakers and muddy in between, and he yelled, "Henry!" No more splashes. Just a boy and a dog dripping. "Hi, Dad," Henry said with a little smile. Mudge wagged his tail. "Henry, you know you should have asked me first." Henry's father said, "I know," said Henry. "I am surprised at you," Henry's father said. "I'm sorry," said Henry. "I don't know what to do with you," Henry's father said. Henry looked sad. Then Mudge wagged his tail, licked Henry's hand, and shook the water from his big, wet, furry body all over Henry and Henry's father. "Mudge!" Henry yelled. Henry's father stood there with a muddy face and muddy shoes and muddy in between. He looked at Mudge. He looked at Henry. He looked at the big puddle. Then he smiled. "Wow," he said, and he jumped in. He splashed water on Mudge. He splashed water on Henry. He said, "Next time, ask me along." Henry said, "Sure, Dad," and Henry splashed him back. Okay, so let's do the same thing with this story. Okay, so can you tell me who the characters are?
Henry and Henry's dad.
And so where were they this time?
A puddle in his house.
Yeah, a puddle by his house, a huge puddle. They said it was a lake puddle, an ocean puddle too. So it's a really big puddle. Okay, what was the problem?
That he did not ask his dad.
He forgot to ask his dad. So what happened after he forgot to ask his dad?
He got wet.
Yeah, they both got really muddy, didn't they? And then, so they were really muddy, and then what happened?
His dad came.
His dad came? And was his dad happy that they were all muddy? No, he was kind of upset. But then, what happens at the end? What's the solution?
He wasn't mad anymore, and he splashed in the water.
Yep, his dad wasn't mad anymore, and he splashed all around. Okay, so we have one more story left. It's about 10 pages. And this one you're going to read just to yourself.
Down there below, they have what's called a flow chart. It says the engineers first find a problem, idea, then they create a model, and they test it. And remember last week, where did they test it? In the laboratory. Very good.
Can I read this?
You want to read this one? Yeah, you can read this.
We take turns. But you're reading and we did. Let's take a look at picnic. This is a spot where foot engineers have made
Little.
Metal rockets go stronger and lighter than wood. Today, rockets are made out of different materials together. These rockets are very light and provide more power than the old ones. The world is faster than ever. Today's rockets also have a larger head or swing inward than before. This makes it easier for the tennis player to be controlled. A player can also control the ball
Do you know what page you're on? So did you read this page?
In other words, when I was a kid, tennis rackets were mostly made out of wood. But
I think you should be on the page with all the cats. On page 40?
What are we gonna do if we all get sick and then are we that age?
There we go.
Wait.
I think you guys are all doing good. Do you want to sit on a chair or a stool, Angel?
You can come on.
Do you want a stool?
Here you go, Angel. So I'm ready to read. Everyone ready? Raise your hand if you're ready. So, more bouncing to the ball. More bounce to the ball. Tennis balls have come a long way to the first tennis balls were made of leather or cloth stuffed with wool or horsehair. These balls didn't bounce very high. In the 1870s, rubber was first used to make tennis balls. These balls bounced better, but the cloth that covered the ball would fall off. Today, tennis balls are still made with rubber first. Two matching half-shell pieces of rubber are glued together. This makes the hollow shape, the round shape of the ball. Second two pieces felt a wrapper around the ball. The third, a rubber sleeve is added to keep the felt covered together. Finally, the balls are put in
Now you need to read this one and
that is under pressure. This helps keep them back on the table. Process ensures that each tennis ball bounces exactly the same way, where the ball bounces it up to the player. Can we just my dog is just the
Yep. So what were the first balls made out of?
No, I can do that. It's the silvery.
What were the first balls made out of?
Rubber. No, cloth and horsehair and
Well, the first ones were made with leather or cloth stuffed with what?
Okay. So this is going to be our last one. We'll be talking about it last. So who were the characters in that list? The kittens, and then there was one other important character. What's it again? Henry, and then
Well, yeah.
the new dog. Yeah. So we had a lot of characters. We had all those kittens. We had Henry, we had Mudge, and then the new dog. And so where?
Horses shed a lot of hair.
They were named after
They
planets.
can kind of comb it and it just comes off.
Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn.
And usually each spring, what do they do?
So where did this story take place? Where did
They
this?
cut all their hair off.
in the box.
Yep. So the kittens were in a box, and the box was in outside in the yard.
The horse's name.
Okay. So what was the problem?
Well, some people
the dog, the new dog went
Yeah, he was gonna bite the kittens. And so what happened? What were the events?
you can do that.
Yep, Mudge.
Okay.
What happened?
There have been a lot of improvements in both
Mudge heard the new dog coming, and he got up and he barked.
the ball.
And then he barked and barked and barked until Henry's mom opened the door. And then he ran out into the new dog to confront the new dog. And then what did Mudge do? What was the solution? Yeah, he scared off the new dog that was gonna hurt the kittens. And then that was the end. Okay. So I'm gonna grab my pencil. Okay, so in this last one, we said the characters were the kittens. We had Mudge, right? What was another one?
The new dog.
Yep. And then one more character.
And the new dog.
We have the new dog, the kitten, Mudge, and yeah, Henry's mom. Henry's mom. Made a little appearance. Okay, in the setting, what did we say it was? Yep, the box. And where is the box? In the yard. Outside. And our problem was that the new dog. What were the events we said? Yeah, Mudge. Mudge barked about time. And then he barked and snapped at that dog.
What's snapped?
Snapped is like when a dog's jaw is like out.
Oh.
Like yeah, when it has this like showing its, you can't really see my mouth right now, but it's showing its teeth and then it goes to scare the other dog. Snapped. And then what was the solution? When he barked and he snapped his teeth, what happened?
He got scared and ran away.
Yeah. So he scared off the new dogs and the kittens were safe. Okay. So I think we did great with that. Okay, now what we're gonna do is a little sorting game. So I think it was last week, Monday, we worked on spelling words that ended with ED. Do you remember doing that? Remember we had that worksheet where in the hallway Jovan was here and we worked on it. We made sentences with those words. So today, instead of spelling them, we're gonna place words that end in ED into 3 different categories. So this category is ED sounds that sound like jumped. So you see how that how the ED sounds like a T and jumped. I jumped up and down, kind of makes a T noise. And then this one I start ed. So these are gonna sound like ed at the end, started. And then this one, changed. It's gonna sound like a J at the end, so changed. Okay. So if we have missed, where do you think this one's from? Missed. Yep, right there. Okay, and what about stayed? Stayed.
In other words,
Does it sound like ed at the end? Is it stayed or is it stayed? Yep, that one. And then we have melted. Melted.
Let's go. Come over here.
Okay, so we did the first three together, and now we have all of these.
Wait a second.
And I'm gonna lay them out.
I wanna go over some of what Amy was talking about.
So I'm doing that, you can hang
It
them
used
out.
to be made out of wood like this. Does that bend very easy?
And
No,
then,
it doesn't.
look, it's just like all these ones, what do you think
No.
that's worth gonna be?
So what would happen is they'd have to carrying this big long pole, and then they'd stick it down in the ground and try to see how high.
Okay.
it
I
goes.
wanna pick one of those.
Now then,
Okay, can you read it to me?
because the sports
Sniff.
engineers,
So which one do you think
that
that's
pole,
So we're gonna do a little bit of
the
a.
T?
when they,
Yeah, I agree.
that pole
I'll pick one.
gets
I'll
lighter weight,
this
the
one.
wooden poles are
Sneezed.
and they're flexible.
Sneezed.
In other words, when they
Put in.
stick them in the ground,
I'm thinking it's gonna. Does it sound like an ed at the end or a D?
so that
Sneezed.
all of a sudden,
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
they
D.
get cheating, just like a slingshot, ups and over, so they can.
Can you read that to me? Lift. I think it's two, too.
All right. You're next.
You wanna pick another one? I'll do this one. Started. Start. I think that sounds like ed at the end. Started. We're almost done. I know. We keep on picking the C sounds. I'll do this one. Smile. And I was gonna go with smiled. Rested. Rested. I think that one. Yeah, I think that one's gonna be ED. Yeah, looked. I looked to the right. I think we finished this column. There we go.
Nice, what else was that one? Remember there's always gonna be two words that go with each contraction.
Wait, no, not that one, not that one.
Is that this one?
Whisper? I think so.
No, wait, no, don't go back there.
Wanted.
Come here.
Wanted. Yeah, I think that.
Sorry.
Shouted.
We can use some of
And
this.
our last one.
You leave that back.
Wagged. If that sounds right. So we got them all right.
First, second, fifth.
Okay, so let's read all these columns together. Get missed, sniffed, licked,
I know. This one,
asked,
okay, let's put this one together.
looked,
Have one. Shit.
melted, started,
Okay, what time is it?
did, shouted, stayed. What was that word? It was in our story earlier. When Mudge ate that flower, what did he do?
We only have like 2 minutes.
Yeah, sneezed.
We got 3 minutes.
Flag, yep. And so all of these words were in the stories we read today.
Okay, let's get up.
All of them were in the story we read. So there's a lot of words that ended in ed, and they all sounded different. But when we read them really well.
You didn't like
And
it
so we
that
used the
done.
correct pronunciation. And also, remember, I think last week and then 2 weeks ago, we were working on reading with like expression and excitement in our voices. Do you remember doing that? You did a really good job of doing that today. Great job. Yeah, 5. Oh yeah. Wonder what that is.
Can I choose the book? It's a movie.
Normal.
What a joke. Because Mariah had it when it's actually. Here, I made an actual fly.
Okay. So we have one more part of our lesson today, and then we're going to go through the rest of that. And we're going to do a teeny bit of writing, just to practice. If I can grab this piece of paper. There we go. Okay. I'm going to let you write. You can't write on it, but you can use your paper to write on it. Okay. So you can use this as a hard thing to write on. Okay, so you're going to pick one of these stories that we read today. And so we did a 5-finger recall for each one of them, remember? And you're going to write very shortly a small summary using those things we used. So we have one written down for the last story, but you can choose the first story about the snow glory, or you can choose the second story about the puddle, or you could do the one we just did about the kittens. So you can pick one of those stories and you're going to write a short summary. And we have, if you need to remember what happened, you can use the 5-finger recall. Try and remember everything that happened. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can write on this as a hard surface. So what story are we going to pick? So here we have a table of contents. We have the snow glory, puddle trouble, or the kittens. Puddle trouble? Okay, so let's go to that page. Okay, do you want to do a quick 5-finger retell for this so we can remember everything that happened? So you remember, we'll start with our thumb, the characters. So you remember the characters in this one? Can you tell me who they are?
Mudge,
And so where were they in this story? Yeah, they're outside in a puddle, a huge puddle. Okay, and then what was the problem? Yeah, they got mud on their face. What did Henry forget to do before he left? Yeah, he didn't ask permission to go in the puddle. So then what happened after that? Yeah, his dad came looking for him, and they were, what were Henry and Mudge doing? Yeah, they were really messy. They were splashing in a huge puddle. Okay, and then once Henry's dad found him, what happened? Yeah, he was not happy. But then, remember what happened? His dad was mad. Yeah, then he didn't get mad. And then, and then he joined them in the puddle. He jumped in. And then it was all good. They were all wet and having fun together. Yeah, they were really muddy. Okay. So that that's probably what happened next. Okay. So that was kind of a long summary. So you can shorten it up. Use those ideas we just talked about. Mentioning the characters, maybe where they were, and then especially the problem, events, and the solutions. That's really what happened in the story. This is kind of heavy, so if you want to grab something else, that's okay. Do you want to say it out loud first, and then we can try and figure it out like with talking, and then we can write it down? So when we tell a summary, we got to make sure we get the beginning too. So what happened in the beginning?
He went outside without asking his dad and mom.
So who went outside?
Henry.
Yeah, Henry and Mudge. So you can rate that. Henry and Mudge went outside to the puddle. Mudge is kind of a funny dog name. Do you need a new pencil? Okay. I think there's a bunch of pencils back there you can grab. Good one? side, there's an E at the end of it.
We had a bunny.
So the I says its name, so you put an E at the end. Okay. So Henry and Mudge went outside, and then what happened? Do you remember?
Then his dad came looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
I have been taking care of him for a long, long time. He said, I will take good care of your new pet too. I will feed it. I will clean his house. You can take it to the vet if it gets sick. His parents smiled. It sounds as if you've been doing a lot of thinking too. So may I have a pet? They whispered to each other. Then they nodded, their heads up and down. Oh, thank you, he said. He wanted to go to the pet school right away. We'll help you choose a puppy tomorrow, said his mother. So thank you, he said. I do not want a dog.
That's a good sentence.
Dogs were nice,
So there we go.
but I want a
Okay, so Henry and Mudge went outside, and then his dad went looking for them. And then what happened after that?
He said, it is real nice, but I want a pet that's safe. And then he found them in the puddle.
Mm-hmm.
He took his head looking for a rabbit. He asked, "Mother, no, thank you." What kind of pet do you want? Asked his parents. Penguin smiled and said, I'll show you tomorrow. At the pet store, Penguin pointed to a fish that went to goldfish. A goldfish, they said, why? This cannot do tricks or play with you. So Penguin explained. He wants to explore, crawling around and laugh. He liked the beautiful colors and he liked the way they made him feel inside, play, and walk. Besides, he said, I love goldfish. That's the best fish in the world, he said.
Mm-hmm.
Like
We're almost done summarizing the story. We gotta get the ending part. But then he found them in the puddle.
every morning,
So after he found them in the puddle, we're really close to the end of the story. Okay, so we found them in the puddle.
went to bed, Penguin blew a great big kiss. And whispered, I love you, Goldie.
They're all wet. But then what happened?
You can get over your Chromebook and take a test
It's an iPad!
on the iPad, take a test.
Mm-hmm. His dad got in the puddle.
The AO level is 2.5.
Angel.
Yeah, that's
Read
too
the one
much.
you picked out.
That's
But I'm gonna Angel read hers first here.
Wait, no, that's in my level. My level is 2.6 to 2.4.
So then you'll have to get rid of.
In the end, I told Dad we could sing. Yeah. Okay. Me and Gracie have the same level. Gracie, you stole the teacher's pen.
There we go.
Let's be quiet.
Okay, so let's read our summary. Can you read to me?
Quiet.
Henry and Mudge went outside.
I
His
wouldn't
dad
be able to listen to
was
Angel read.
looking for them. Then he found them at the puddle, and his dad got wet.
Mm-hmm. Great job. You did it. I really liked using then because that tells you it's a good transition word when we tell you a summary. So it's a good word choice right there. Okay. So today we read 3 different stories and we worked on a 5-finger retell. So on our thumb, what are we gonna talk about?
Settings?
This is our thumb,
Okay,
and then our pointer finger
settings.
up here,
Problem. Events.
and
Can I post the solution?
solution. Mm-hmm. So when we read stories and we're gonna quickly summarize them, we can use our fingers to help us do it. Okay? And we did a really good job writing and sorting these ED words. So we got a lot done today. Nice job.
there. I made a hamburger.
A little hamburger? A magnet hamburger?